Hello, boys and girls. It's Miss Mary again, Storytime Programmer with the Frontenac County Public Library in Conway, Arkansas. And today we are going to read chapters 3 and 4 of Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Grabenstein. And again, this is published by Random House, New York. Okay, chapter 3, page 12. Of course, even though he was grounded, Kyle Keeley still had to go to school. Mike, Curtis, Kyle, time to wake up, his mother called down from in the kitchen. Kyle plopped his feet on the floor, rubbed his eyes, and sleepily looked around the room. The computer handed down from his brother Curtis was sitting on the desk that used to belong to his other brother, Mike. The rug on the floor with its Cincinnati Reds logo had also been Mike's when he was 12 years old. The books lined up in his bookcase had been lined up on Mike's and Curtis's shelves, except for the ones Kyle got each year for Christmas from his grandmother. He still hadn't read last year's edition. Kyle wasn't big on books, unless they were the instruction manual or hint guide to a video game. He had a Sony PlayStation set up in the family room. It wasn't the high-def Blu-ray PS3. It was the one Santa had brought Mike maybe 4 years earlier. Mike kept the brand new Blu-ray model locked up in his bedroom. But still, clunker that it was, the 4-year-old gaming console in the family room worked. Except this week. Well, it worked, but Kyle's dad had taken away his TV and computer privileges. So, unless he just wanted to hear the hard drive hum, there was really no point in firing up the PlayStation until the next Sunday, when his sentence ended. When you're grounded in this house, his father had said, you're grounded. If Kyle needed a computer for homework during this last week of school, he could use his mom's, the one in the kitchen. His mom had no games on her computer. Okay, she had Diner Dash, but that really didn't count. Being grounded in the Keeley household meant you couldn't do anything except, as his dad put it, think about what you did that caused you to be grounded. Kyle knew what he had done. He had broken a window. But hey, I also beat my big brothers. Good morning, Kyle, his mom said when he hit the kitchen. She was sitting at her computer desk, sipping coffee and tapping keys. Grab a toaster tart for breakfast. Curtis and Mike were already in the kitchen, chowing down on the last of the good toaster tarts, the frosted cupcake swirls. They'd left Kyle the unfrosted brown sugar cinnamon, the ones that tasted like the box they came in. New library opens Friday, just in time for summer vacation, Kyle's mom mumbled, reading her computer screen. Been 12 years since they tore down the old one. Listen to this, boys. Dr. Yanina Zinchenko, the new public library's head librarian, promises that patrons will be surprised by what they find inside. Really? Said Kyle, who always liked a good surprise. I wonder what they'll have in there. Books maybe? Said Mike. It's a library, Kyle. Still, said Curtis, I can't wait to get my new library card. Because you're a nerd, said Mike. I prefer the term geek, said Curtis. Well, I gotta go, said Kyle, grabbing his backpack. Don't want to miss the bus. He hurried out the door. What Kyle really didn't want to miss were his friends. A lot of them had Sony PSPs and Nintendo's 3DSs. Loaded with lots and lots of games. Kyle fist bumped and knuckle-knocked his way up the bus aisle to his usual seat. Almost everybody wanted to say hey to him, except, of course, Sierra Russell. Like always, Sierra, who was also a 7th grader, was sitting in the back of the bus, her nose buried in a book. Probably one of those about girls who lived in tiny homes on the prairie or something. Ever since her parents divorced and her dad moved out of town, Sierra Russell had been incredibly quiet and spent all of her free time reading. Nice shirt, said Akimi Hughes as Kyle slid into the seat beside her. Thanks. It used to be Mike's. Doesn't matter. It's still cool. Akimi's mother was Asian, her dad Irish. She had a very long, jet black hair, extremely blue eyes, and a ton of freckles. What are you playing? Kyle asked, because Akimi was frantically working the controls on her PSP 3000. Squirrel Squad, said Akimi. One of Mr. Lemoncello's best, said Kyle, who had the same game on his PlayStation. The one he couldn't play with for a week. You need a hand? Nah. Watch out for the beehives. I know about beehives, Kyle. I'm just saying. Yes! What? I cleared level 6. Finally! Awesome. Kyle did not mention that he was up to level 27. Akimi was his best friend. Friends don't gloat to friends. When I shot the squirrels at the falcons, said Akimi, the pilots parachuted. If a squirrel bit the pilot in the butt, I got a 50-point bonus. Yes, in Mr. Lemoncello's Catapulting Critters game, there were all sorts of wacky jokes. The falcons weren't birds. They were F-16 Falcon fighter jets. And the squirrels, they were nuts. Totally bonkers, with swirly whirlpool eyes. They flew through the air, jabbering gibberish. They bit butts. This was one of the main reasons why Kyle thought everything that came out of Mr. Lemoncello's imagination factory, board games, puzzles, video games, was amazingly awesome. For Mr. Lemoncello, a game just wasn't a game if it wasn't a little goofy around the edges. So, did you pick up the bonus code? Asked Kyle. Huh? In the freeze frame there. Akimi studied the screen. Turn it over. Akimi did. See that number tucked into the corner? Type that in the next time the home screen asks you for your password. Why? What happens? You'll see. Akimi slugged him in the arm. What? Well, don't be surprised if you start flinging flaming squirrels on level 7. Get out! Try it. You'll see. I will. This afternoon. So, did you write your extra credit essay? Huh? What essay? The one that's due today. About the new public library. Refresh my memory. Akimi sighed. Because the old library was torn down 12 years ago, the 12-year-olds who write the best essays on why I'm excited about the new public library will get to go to the library lock-in this Friday night. Huh? The winners will spend the night in the new library before anybody else even gets to see the place. Is this like that movie Night at the Museum? Will the books come alive and chase people around in junk? No. There will probably be free movies and food and prizes and games. All of a sudden, Kyle was interested. Okay, that's the end of chapter 3. What do you think? Let's see. We learned a little bit more about how much Kyle loves games and why he loves Mr. Lemoncello's games. We met some people on the school bus with Kyle, Sierra. We learned a little bit about Sierra and Akimi, a girl who is Kyle's best friend. And of course, we learned a little bit more about the new library and some homework that Kyle didn't do. Okay, are you ready for chapter 4? All right, here we go. Looks like we're still on the school bus. So exactly what kind of games are we talking about? Asked Kyle. I don't know, said Akimi. Fun book stuff, I guess. And do you think this new library will have equally new computers? Definitely. Wi-Fi? Probably. Kyle nodded slowly. And all this takes place Friday night? Yep. Akimi, I think you just discovered a way for me to shorten my most recent groundation. Your what? My game-deprived parental punishment. Kyle figured being locked in a library with computers on Friday night would be better than being stuck at home without any gaming gear at all. Can I borrow a pen and a sheet of paper? What? You're going to write your essay now? On the bus? Better late than never. They're due in homeroom, Kyle. First thing. Fine, I'll keep it brief. Akemi shook her head and handed Kyle a notebook and a pen. The bus bounced over a speed bump into the school driveway. He would need to make his essay really, really short. He was hoping the 12 winners would be randomly pulled out of a hat or something, and like the lottery people always said in their TV commercials, you just had to be in it to win it. Meanwhile, in another part of town, Charles Chiltington was sitting in his father's library, working with the college student who'd been hired to help him polish up his extra credit essay. He was dressed in his typical school uniform, khaki slacks, blue blazer, button-down shirt, and tastefully striped tie. He was the only student at Alexandriaville Middle School who dressed that way. What's a big word for library? Charles asked his tutor. Teachers love big words. Book repository? Bigger, please. Athenium? Perfect. It's such a weird word, they'll have to look it up. Charles made the change, saved the file, and sent the document off to the printer. Your dad sure reads a lot, said his ELA tutor, admiring the leather-bound books lining the walls of Mr. Chiltington's home library. Knowledge is power, said Charles. It's one of our fundamental family philosophies. Another was, we eat losers for breakfast. Kyle and Akemi climbed off the bus and headed into the school. You know, said Akemi, my dad told me the library people had like a bazillion different architects doing drawings and blueprints that they couldn't share with each other. How come? To keep everything super secret. My dad and his firm did the front door, and that was it. The second they stepped into Mrs. Cameron's classroom for homeroom period, Miguel Fernandez shouted, Hey, Kyle, check it out, bro. He held up a clear plastic binder, maybe 2 inches thick. I totally aced my essay, man. The library, Delio? Yeah, I put in pictures and charts plus a whole section about the ancient library of Alexandria, Egypt, since this is Alexandriaville, Ohio. Cool, said Kyle. Miguel Fernandez was super enthusiastic about everything. He was also president of the school's library aid society. Hey, Kyle, you know what they say about libraries? Not really. They have something for every chapter of your life. Well, Kyle groaned. The second bell rang. All right, everybody, said Mrs. Dana Cameron, Kyle's homeroom teacher. Time to turn in your extra credit essays. She started walking up and down the rows of desks. The judges will be meeting in the faculty lounge this morning to make the preliminary cut. Crap, thought Kyle. There were judges. This was not going to be a bingo ball drawing like the lottery. Mr. Keeley, the teacher hovered over his desk. Did you write an essay? Yeah, sort of. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Either you wrote an essay or you didn't. Kyle, half-heartedly handed her his hastily scribbled sheet of paper. And unfortunately, Mrs. Cameron read it out loud. Balloons. There might be balloons. The classroom erupted in laughter. Until Mrs. Cameron did that, tilt down her glasses and glare over them at everything. You know, this thing she did to terrify everybody into total silence. This is your essay, Kyle. Yes, ma'am. We were supposed to write one. We're excited about the grand opening, and, well, balloons are always my favorite part. I said Mrs. Cameron. You know, Kyle, your brother Curtis wrote excellent essays when he was in my class. Yes, Mrs. Cameron, mumbled Kyle. Mrs. Cameron sighed contentedly. Please give him my regards. Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Cameron moved on to the next desk. Miguel eagerly handed her his thick booklet. Very well done, Miguel. Thank you, Mrs. Cameron. Kyle heard an odd noise out in the parking lot, a puttering, clunking, clanking sound. Oh, my, said Mrs. Cameron. I wonder if that's him. She hurried to the window and pulled up the blinds. All the kids in the classroom followed her. And then they saw it. Out in the visitor parking lot, a car that looked like a giant red boot on wheels. It had a strip of notched black boot sole for its bumper. Thick shoelaces crisscrossed their way up from the windshield to the top of a 10-foot tall boot collar. It looks just like the red boot from that game, said Miguel. Family Frenzy. Cal nodded. Family Frenzy was Mr. Lemoncello's first and probably most famous game. The red boot was one of the 10 tokens you could pick to move around the board. A tall, gangly man stepped out of the boot car. It's Mr. Lemoncello, gasped Kyle, his heart racing. What's he doing here? It was just announced, said Mrs. Cameron. This evening, Mr. Luigi Lemoncello himself will be the final judge. Of what? Your library essays. And that's the end of chapter 4. What did you think? So yeah, we learned. we met some new people. We met Charles Chiltington. We didn't learn a whole lot about him, except for he seems very formal and his family has some weird mottos. Let's see. We also met Mrs. Cameron and Miguel, and we found out what Kyle wrote in his essay and how hard it is to be compared to your older siblings in school. And of course, at the very end of chapter 4, we learned about this amazing boot car and Mr. Lemoncello, who is described as tall and gangly. Oh my goodness, this is getting pretty exciting. Do you think Kyle's going to get to meet Mr. Lemoncello? Do you think his essay has a chance of being chosen when all it says is balloons? There might be balloons. Normally, I would say no way. But since the book is titled Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library, I don't know. I think maybe Kyle or somebody he knows is going to win the essay contest. I don't know. Anyway, just some things to think about. I'll see you tomorrow for chapters 5 and 6. Goodbye.